yo pude, no, tú pudiste, él pudo, bailó. Hi guys, and welcome to your weekly review with me, Andreina. So this week's review covers what we've been working on Instagram and on the blog from Monday, which was August 5th, to this Sunday, which is August 11th. So remember, every week on the blog, I put up various readings, and each reading has vocab. And you can go to the blog, thelanguagemovement.com, and you can print out the readings, which looks like this. So the first page is kind of all of the vocab, and then you go on to the readings. I printed mine out in black and white, so it's kind of hard to see, but you get the gist. And then each reading has comprehension questions, so basically whether you understood what's in the reading or not, like did I have vanilla ice cream or chocolate ice cream? And then at the end is personal questions, so I ask, do you like ice cream? What's your favorite flavor? And this is all in Spanish, so this is really great free resources that comes out every week, and you have complete access to it. So definitely check that out. Now, based on today's or this week's weekly review, there's a couple of things that I want to go over that was on your vocab list, okay? Now this week we're not going to go through all of the new words. I think some of them are pretty easy to kind of understand, but I do want to go over the verbs especially, because that's what usually trips people up. Okay, so the first one is estamos, okay? In the first reading I used estamos. Now we touched on this a little bit last week, because estamos is the conjugation of estar, which is to be, and estamos is we are. I just want to quickly go over the main reason why you would use estar. Remember, there's two verbs that mean to be. One is ser and one is estar. And estar you mostly use for things that can really change at any moment. So that can be position, like I can be here or I can be over there. Location, that's more location. Position is more like on top of or under. And then action, so what you are doing in that exact moment, and that's usually paired with another verb that's called a present progressive, and we'll talk about that a little bit more at the end. And then conditions and emotions, like estoy cansada o estoy feliz, estoy triste. So really those are the main reasons why you would use estar, but besides all of that, I just want to tell you that if you mess up, it's okay. If you use ser when you're supposed to use estar, fine, it's fine. Don't worry about it. It's not the end of the world. The person will understand you. And if they don't, then honestly, they're just being stubborn, because it shouldn't change the meaning that much, okay? So it's okay. You won't sound like a native speaker if you do mess up, but is that really the point? I don't think so. I think communication, effective communication, is always number one. So if you make little mistakes, do not let that stop you from talking, okay? Just keep going. All right, let's move on. So I also used the verb, it's on your vocab list, and the phrase is les encantan los lagos, because I talk about the beaches and lakes and kind of how the difference between the two as far as my opinion and my taste. So I said les encantan. Now encantan is a verb very similar to gustar, which is usually one of the first verbs that you learn as a Spanish learner. So you know how to say I like, which is me gusta. And you know, so if you say me encantan, it's just more emphasis, like you really, really love it. But the tricky thing is the conjugation. Now, when you're learning the verb gustar, you don't really think about like, wait, why does it not end in an O if I'm saying I like? Because if you want to say I dance, you say bailo, but you don't say me gusto. No. And that's because this goes back to another thing we talked about last week, which is the use of direct object pronouns. So in gustar, you are not the one doing the action. So in English, you do say I like. You are doing the action. But in Spanish, the action is being done to you. So you're actually saying it pleases me. So that's why you use me instead of yo when it comes to with the verb gustar. Now, the verb encantar, which is to love or to really, really like, is the same thing. So you are not doing the action. You are not going to use yo. You are going to use direct object pronouns. So it really likes you or it loves you, whatever it may be. So me encanta, te encanta, le encanta, nos encanta. Now, the tricky thing is, it's not really tricky at all. So if you're saying that you like this one lake is pleasing you, is really, really pleasing you. So you're going to conjugate encanta with an A because it's one lake, it is doing the action, it is he, she, or it, and it is pleasing you. But if you say that you really, really like lakes, then the lakes are doing the action. So it's actually plural. And that's when you say encantan. And then you add your direct object pronoun before the verb. Me encantan, te encantan, le encantan, nos encantan, les encantan, which is what I used in my reading. Good? Easy. Now, speaking of direct object pronouns, there's another phrase I threw in there in your vocab list that uses direct object pronouns. Now, that phrase is me da miedo, which is it really scares me. The literal translation is it gives me fear. So again, you are not doing the action is being done to you. So in English, when you want to say I'm scared, then you conjugate it like you are the subject. But in Spanish, you don't do that. Something else is giving you fear. So you're gonna use the verb to give, which is dar. So doy, das, da, damos, dan, and then fear, miedo. And again, you add the direct object pronoun before the conjugated verb. So me da miedo, te da miedo, le da miedo. Easy. So direct object pronouns are very essential, especially when it comes to like idioms and phrases like that, where you're not always going to find a literal translation of I am scared. Instead, it's another phrase it's phrased another way in Spanish, and you're gonna have to learn how to say it that way. So it gives me fear. Okay, let's move on to stem changing verbs. So we went over two last week. We're gonna go over two again this week. One of them is stem changing E to I, so that is preferir, and that is to prefer. So it's yo, oh no, it's IE. Okay, yo prefiero, tú prefieres, él prefiere. The important thing is that when it's preferir, it's the second E that changes to IE, not the first one. That's the only tricky part. But it's easy. Now just remember, the most important thing when it comes to stem changing verbs is that they do not change in the nosotros form, okay? So it's gonna be yo prefiero, nosotros preferimos. Easy. And the second verb that follows the exact same rule. It's the verb sentir, which is to feel, which is E to IE. So same as preferir, okay? So yo siento, nosotros sentimos, okay? Perfect. You got this. Okay. Now, I just want to go over, let's go over some tenses. So, in your vocab list, we have the verb pude. Now that is the preterite of the tense, of the verb poder. Poder is to be able to. Okay, so poder is an irregular verb in the past, in the preterite. So your stem is going to be PUD. So if you want to say I couldn't do this or I could do this, but you're talking about in the past, then you're going to use your stem PUD and add your regular endings. So yo pude, él pudo, nosotros pudimos, etc. Okay? Now the only tricky thing is that even though poder is an ER verb, because it's also irregular, sometimes it uses the AR preterite ending, sometimes it uses the ER, IR preterite endings. So you just kind of have to memorize it. So it's going to be yo pude, which is technically an AR ending. Tú pudiste, IR. Él pudo, AR. Nosotros pudimos, IR. And ellos pudieron, which is IR as well. So that's the only tricky thing, but it's okay. It's okay. And now we were talking about the past. Let's talk about the present. So the present is actually, the future. So the future is actually really easy. So you use your infinitive. The verb I gave you that is used in the future is regresaremos. The only tricky thing is when you're speaking, it's a lot of syllables, because what you do is you have your infinitive verb and then you just attach your ending right to it. So yo regresaré, tú regresarás, él regresará, nosotros regresaremos. So that will be your ending for your AR future verbs, regular ones. Again, the only tricky thing is a lot of syllables, especially regresar. It's a lot of R's. So just take your time saying the conjugation. If you trip up, it's okay, but just don't let it become a tongue twister, okay? And the last thing that I want to talk to you about is a use of a present progressive. So on your vocab list, you'll find the word yendo, which is Y-E-N-D-O. Now this is present progressive, and this goes with estar when we talked about actions. So if you want to say I am dancing, you say estoy bailando. I am talking, estoy hablando. So that kind of A-N-D-O or I-E-N-D-O, depending if it's A-R or E-R or I-R, it's the same as adding ing when you're talking in English, okay? So you're talking about an action that is going on right now. Now, yendo is the present progressive of the verb ir. Ir means to go, so yendo means going. Now, this kind of looks weird because it starts with a Y and IR starts with an I, so is it irregular? Not really, okay? It actually follows the rules, which is weird for ir to do that. So ir is technically an IR verb, right? So if you're going to change an IR verb to present progressive, you drop your ending, which is the IR, and you add IENDO. So going should technically be IENDO. The thing is, Spanish doesn't like the fact that there's two vowels at the beginning of a word right next to each other. I mean, what is that? That's not easy when it comes to breaking down a word syllable by syllable, which is what Spanish likes to do. So what happens is that I changes to a Y, which really happens a lot in Spanish when there's way too many vowels next to each other. So instead of I-E-N-D-O, it's going to be a Y-E-N-D-O, but really the pronunciation is still the same, yendo, okay? It's just really for spelling purposes so that Y can kind of stand as a consonant and not have two vowels next to each other. So really, it actually follows the rules, so it's pretty regular. So that's it. Those are all the quick little explanations I wanted to give you for for this week's weekly review. Everything else, you should really just be able to practice it on your own. So feel free to go to the blog, print out that PDF of all the readings and all the vocab and all the questions, and then watch this video as you're doing your exercises so that you understand how to use the words on your vocab list. Thank you so much. I hope your language learning journey is going well, and I will see you next week. Bye.